Oh, we're about to go deep. Let's bridge the gap between porn style, hardcore sex, and connected, emotional, layered, intimate sex. What does it mean? Is there a difference? Is there truly a difference? And if there is, how do we determine what we want? Well, here's the thing. Firstly, I'm simply stating there's two types of sex, and there's definitely not. There are multiple kinds of sex, but we're talking about an energetic here. And for today's purposes, we're going to simplify this. We're just going to bring it into two lanes. That lane of sex that is deeply witnessing. Now, it can be hardcore, it can be hard, it can be fast, it can be ravishing. But the difference between these two types of sex, I'm going to lay it out super simple. One has a deep fear of intimacy, the other doesn't. Let me say that again. That porn style in and out, rabbit, that style of sex, that distracting sex just to ejaculate or orgasm, that type of sex more than likely comes from a place that carries a deep fear of intimacy, of being seen, exposed, explored, witnessed, heard, understood. Being vulnerable becomes a fear. The sex that craves intimacy, connection, being seen, that sex that doesn't carry a fear of intimacy. That doesn't mean it can't be ravishing, ravaging, and hard, and intense, and physically focused. It can, absolutely. One comes from a fear of intimacy, the other doesn't. I, in my life, have experienced fear of intimacy. I still do sometimes. My wife is very patient with me. She sees me. She understands that pain of where I've come from. She gets that heaviness that sometimes is in me. Fear of intimacy, and I've shared this before in many different ways. Fundamentally, fear of intimacy is, yes, a fear of being seen, but it's when love and closeness feels unsafe. You've experienced instability around intimacy, around caring and sharing and love. You haven't been able to rely on love. It hasn't been consistent in your life. You've had that in and out parent or that abusive parent that one moment loves you and tells you that he or she loves you, but then hits you. I had that experience multiple times. That was my experience. And so from both parents in different ways, and it was confusing and disorganizing for the way I attached as an adult in intimacy, the way I bonded and connected with other human beings. And sometimes it still comes up where I'm afraid to be seen. Maybe there's body shame that comes up. I don't want to go deep with my partner. But of course, I'm able to really be there with that. I'm very aware that we have open conversations. We work through this actively. I don't let this control me, but I did. I did let it control me. And the way I let it control me was by allowing myself to be uncontrollable in my sexual appetite, my sexual compulsion, love addiction even. And I found that, or I thought I found that, that sense of relief by being with multiple partners multiple times. By being with novelty, by pursuing, being in control of my sexual environment, by not allowing myself to go deep and share with another person, to not be seen in all the stuff that hurts me or is painful, or that I consider to be shameful or not enough. I would never show the other person my deficits. I would never show that person my pain, my fear. I would never show anyone what my weaknesses were. I don't do that now. I own my weaknesses, and I do that on purpose because there's a paradox, a play on paradox there. But I own my deficits, my shadows. Sometimes not immediately, sometimes not always, but that's my intention. And I move with that intention in the world. And that by default allows me to be closer with others. Allows me to share because I have less of a fear of rejection and abandonment and humiliation. I have less of a fear of how others are going to see me, including my wife, including my friends. Yes, that shit still exists. Yes, I will get nervous sometimes if I have to have a confrontation with someone I care about because I'm worried, well, how are they going to perceive me? Are they going to reject me? Are they going to be angry at me? Is it going to end up in a fight? Are we going to end up screaming at each other, fighting? Are we going to just disown each other as friends or whatever it may be? Am I going to hurt my wife if I say something that's really important to me? I have all these fears still. But in the past, I'd either wouldn't be aware of them or I'd ignore them. And what I would do to ignore them, I would go deeper into the pleasure, deeper into the ecstasy, deeper into the debauchery, deeper into the hedonism, and be super pleasure focused, because that would be distraction, would pull me out of my body. Paradoxically, but it's pleasure in the body. But it's pulling me out of what really matters, and that's exploring my shadow and coming to peace with these parts of me that I don't love, that I haven't owned and I haven't cared for in depth. And that's sad, because then we lose contact. And if we lose contact and intimate connection with others, what happens is we negate ourselves, we let ourselves down, but more importantly, we miss an opportunity to heal. We miss an opportunity to heal ourselves and help our partners heal as well, that other person heal, by showing up fully, by showing up in wholeness, by showing up with an open heart and open body, instead of being closed, because they feel that shit. They feel that when we're closed, so they close down, and we've got all these closed people walking around because we have unresolved wounds, unresolved trauma, unresolved pain, and we're not willing to go there and look at it. And we think the rah-rah and the motivation and the superficial aspects of personal growth and personal development is going to get us there. We think, oh, we're doing the work. We're rah-rah, we're motivated today. That's a part of it. And I'm not dissing that part of personal growth, but I am. Because what happens is we get hyper-focused on that, and we think that we're healed. We think that we're healing, but we're only scratching the surface. All we're doing is motivating. And motivation is short-lived because it lacks substance. Because we're not addressing the pain that is unresolved and that we are pushing down, that we've run from for so long. We're not completing the loop of trauma. In other words, we're not letting it go from our bodies, from our minds, from our beings, from our belief systems, from the stories that we tell ourselves. We're just sugarcoating, putting lipstick on a pig. That inner child work, that deep psychological, emotional, spiritual work, that's where we've got to go. And one of the ways that we get to go there, and that we can go there, is through partnership, through intimacy, through romantic, intimate partnership, through sexuality, sacred sexuality, where you stand there naked, not just naked in your body, naked in your soul and your heart, and you bear all of yourself, and you bear your shame, and you bear your pain and your fears. And yes, you have to do that with someone that is safe enough to do it with. And you have to be a safe harbor of truth for them. And so we have to practice that shit within ourselves. Can you be safe for yourself? Can you own who you are? Can you see yourself in all your glory and all your pain, in all your fear, all your disdain, all your joy, all your gifts, all of that which you are? Can you do that? And then can you hold all of that for someone else? And you're not always going to have to do that, but you signed up to be human. So you better start doing some humaning stuff, which means you're going to have to look at the whole of you, not just the convenient parts. And that's just something I've learned. And hey, I could be completely wrong. And if this doesn't resonate, that's cool. Turn the video off. Give me a thumbs down. Tell me to get fucked. It's okay. But if something's catching you here, if you're connecting to part of this, I urge you to explore. I urge you to go deeper. And it's not easy. It hasn't been easy for me. Sometimes there's grace, and sometimes there's ease, and there's ease and grace, and sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's fighting, sometimes there's a lack of ownership, and sometimes there's such intense shame that there's paralysis and a freezing. And I notice, and I know that's the old self coming through. That's that little boy that's really scared. That 5-year-old that witnessed his parents beating up on each other and then on him and taking their frustrations out on him. And that fear of intimacy and pushing love away. And I do that sometimes, and I see myself, I catch it even now, pushing my wife away. And it's very subtle, but it's there. And I'm in the subtleties and the minutiae of my stuff at the moment, and that's okay. And most of the time, it's really beautiful and connected, and she sees me and I see her. And sometimes life happens and we regress. I honor where you are in your journey. I send you all the love, and my invitation to you is to explore all of you and know that all of you is welcome and all of you is worthy. Power and blessings.